too, part of it is setting up the initial systems is what takes so much energy and effort. Like once we have the systems and processes in place and it's running like a well-oiled machine, it goes a lot faster and easier, but getting everything set up, figuring out the right CRM or database system, putting all the touch or interaction plans into place, that's what takes so much time and energy. But let's dive into today's lesson. Today, we're talking about lead generation, the only way to grow your database. And again, I really hope you take to part the last two lessons where we talked about your existing database, implementing the touch campaigns or the interaction campaigns with your existing database before you move forward. Because having those systems, like I just talked about, takes a little bit of time. And if we're lead generating and adding people to that database and we're not following up with them, then we're not going to have a very effective system. We're kind of spinning our wheels and wasting time ultimately. So get those systems in place. And then we're going to begin on our lead generation journey, which is going to cause us to grow that database. So let's dive in. See if I can get on the right screen so my slides will move. There we go. All right. So our learning objectives today is to keep it simple. We're going to focus on keeping it simple, not taking on too much when it comes to lead generation. We're going to have a go over creating a lead generation playbook or what that would look like. We're going to touch on the fact that it's all about the people. It's all about building relationships. And then we're going to wrap it up with a follow-up plan to win. So let's dive in. As always, if you have any questions, you can throw those in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand. Feel free to just interrupt me and let me know that you have a question. I'm always here to answer questions and to clarify on items. So when it comes to lead generation, less is more. Okay. We often try to do it all. We see, oh, somebody's hosting open houses and somebody's making calls and somebody's working for sale by owners. And, there's so many options out there and we get overwhelmed and we start trying to do it all, which actually causes us usually to shut down and not do any lead generation at all. So, less is more. Through the MREA or the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, we learned that top agents generally have 4 primary lead generation strategies. Okay. So on average, top 4 lead generation methods earned about 82% of the business. So here's what I like to recommend. Number 1, we're going to have 5 because we're going to count the database as our first lead generation strategy. That's why we focus 2 days on the database. You're going to dig into that. That's going to generate leads and transactions from people that already know you, love you, and trust you. They're already in your database. So let's build on that. We're also going to get referrals from our database. So that doesn't count as technically a lead generation method. So you're actually going to have 5 legs of lead generation. First one being your database. Okay. The second one should be for everybody, leads from listings. The only reason you would not have that as your second form of lead generation would be if you aren't allowed to take listings. So if you are a buyer only brokerage, that would be the only reason that leads from listings would not be on your list. You should always focus on generating leads from your listings or it's just a missed opportunity. So we're going to dive into that more tomorrow. We're really going to focus in on getting those leads from your listings. But that's why we always talk about being listing focused, right? Like we should have a business that's balanced with buyers and sellers. But if push comes to shove, we're going to push for more sellers than buyers because we can leverage those listings for additional leads. Okay, so that leaves you with strategies 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and those are going to be strategies for lead generation that you're going to hand pick depending on what you enjoy doing. We're going to cover the following lead generation methods during the 12 days together. We're talking about the farm, open houses, social media, leads from listings, events, and referrals. But that's not the full list of lead generation opportunities. You've also got like FSBOs and expired, pre-foreclosure, divorce listings, probates, business to business, networking groups, seminars. And those are just a few. You can do cold calls. You can, lead gen for investors. There's so many options out there and there's no wrong or right answer to what methods you should choose to lead generate in your business. The only thing that I'll say is that you should keep it to 3. Okay, 3 in addition to leads from listings in your database. Any questions before we move on? All right. So to get started with lead generation, first you need to identify those 3 methods of lead gen that you're going to execute. And then we want to develop systems and processes around those 3 methods. And usually what I like to recommend with that is that we heavily focus on one of those 3. And we develop the systems and processes. We kind of become the master of that. And then we kind of dabble in those other 2. Once we've mastered, we've got systems and processes, we're executing it on a regular basis for that first primary lead gen method. Then we're going to add in another one and focus in on that one as well. We're still going to be fully executing this first one, but now we're adding in a second one. We're going to develop systems and processes around that one. Once we're executing both, right, consistently, and we've kind of mastered that process, then we're going to add in that third one. And at any time, part of the reason that we've got 3 going on down there, in addition to your leads from listings and your database, is that at some point we're going to review those methods, and we want to make sure that we're getting a good return on our investment, that our time, energy, effort, resources are being spent well. And if we're not getting a return, we may need to drop one and move on with the other 2, and then slowly add in another option as well. Okay, so step number 1, identify those 3 methods, and then we're going to develop those systems and processes around it. Second, we're going to define and write down. So not only are we going to like think about systems and processes, we're actually going to write down the strategies for that. The next step is that we're going to run those strategies weekly. That means that when you define your strategies, you need to break it down into tangible action steps that you're going to complete on a daily basis. Okay, and then finally, you want to make sure that you track all of your activities. You want to track your time. You want to track your money spent. You want to track what other resources you're utilizing so that you can look at that return on investment. You need to be able to look over those activities and know what the results were, how much time was spent, how much money was spent. Calculate that return on investment for time and money, right? As well as look back over the activities and see what worked and didn't work so that you can tweak those activities to bring results, right? Oftentimes it's not the method. Like it's not like, oh, open houses don't work for me. No, open houses actually work for everybody if you execute it well, right? So if you're committed to having open houses as one of your lead gen methods, and you get through 2 months of open houses, maybe you've hosted 6, 7, 8 open houses and you're not walking away with any leads, then it comes down to what am I not doing, or what am I not doing well, or what do I need to tweak in order to walk away from those open houses with leads? Is nobody showing up? Are the people that are showing up, am I not making connections with them, right? Where in that process does the tweaking need to happen in order to lead to results? And this is oftentimes where like an accountability partner can really come into play in your business. Having somebody to walk alongside you in your business that's kind of in the same place in their business, they're kind of heading the same direction, you've got similar goals. It's a good time so that you can turn and say, hey, Adriana, I've been hosting these open houses. I'm just not getting results. Can I run by my process with you to see where you think I might need to tweak it? Or can you even show up to my open house next weekend and work with me on it? We can split the lead since I'm asking for your time, but can you show me where I'm missing the mark? Right? It's okay to do that. Like, let's come together and work together, have an accountability partner to help you through that process. So let's say, for instance, as an example, that I decide my 3 lead gen strategies, in addition to database and leads from listings, are open houses, YouTube, and FSBOs, right? There's no wrong or right answers. So let's say for my FSBO system, or for sale by owner, in case somebody doesn't know what a FSBO is, for sale by owner, my system and process may be the following, right? I'm going to break it down into tangible daily action steps. So maybe on Monday, I look for new for sale by owners in my area, right? I'm just identifying them. Maybe on Tuesday, my action plan is I call the owners and work to schedule a walkthrough with them for Thursday so that I can see the property. Okay. Maybe on Wednesday, my action step is I'm going to compile a packet of information pertaining to pertaining about the FSBO for the owner. So maybe I'm going to put together a CMA report, like a market analysis report. Maybe I have a specific FSBO pre-listing packet that talks about the benefits of listing with a real estate agent. Maybe it touches on the fact that generally speaking, homes listed by realtors sell for 8% more than the average for sale by owner. And maybe it talks about the marketing strategy that I'm going to have, maybe the benefits of listing in the MLS, right? What would be specific to a FSBO that would cause them to want to maybe rethink their method, right? So I'm going to put together that packet of information so that on Thursday, because I called on Tuesday to schedule the walkthrough for Thursday. So on Thursday, when I walk through all those for sale by owners, I've got a packet for each owner. On Thursday, my action step would be I complete the walkthroughs, talk with the owners, identify their motivation, find out why they chose to sell on their own, asking if they're willing to compensate a buyer's agent, right? And maybe briefly discuss with them the benefits of listing with an agent. Also, I might find out like, hey, are they intending to host an open house that weekend? If they are, maybe I offer some open house signs to them, right? I want to be valuable to that for sale by owner because chances are at some point they're going to need help, right? So for sale by owners are my lead gen. I'm going to work those with the anticipation that eventually I'm going to get that listing. So I may also let them know that, hey, if you need any other help or assistance, please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Right? I'm not going to push and say, oh, you should list it with me. I'm just going to be a valuable resource for them because at some point they're going to rethink their choices. Okay, so that was Thursday. Friday, if they were going to host an open house, I may drop off signs for their open for them, right? So they have 4 or 5 signs to host their open house. I may follow up with anything else that was necessary. And then I also may look through my buyer database to see if the property was a match for any of my buyers. Right? Then weekend comes and goes. I'm probably going to leave them alone on the weekend as well as I like my days off. So I encourage everybody to take 2 days off, whether that's Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday, or Wednesday, Tuesday. I don't really care, but take 2 days off and don't work on those days. So Monday I come back to work. I'm going to check in with that owner and say, hey, I'm just checking in. How'd your open house go? Did you have many showings? Right? How did everything go? I just want to check in with them. Again, I'm looking to be their resource because I know at some point they're going to need help. And then I'm going to continue to check in with them every couple days until that home is in contract. Oftentimes, for sale by owners realize at the point they put that home in the contract or they've got a buyer making an offer that now I need help. I can't provide the buyer what they need. I've got disclosures to do. I've got all these things this other agent's asking me for, and I'm overwhelmed. Can you help me? So we're going to stay in contact with them. So if FSBOs were my lead gen activity, that would kind of be what my playbook would look like and what my weekly activities would be. And I would just repeat that every week. Every Monday, I'm looking for new for sale by owners. Every Thursday, I'm doing the tours of the for sales. Every Wednesday, I'm preparing the packets, right? So I'm just creating that system and process around that. And then every few weeks, I may need to tweak and adjust, or at least maybe once every 2 to 3 months, right? If we think about like the 12-week year, every quarter, we're going to look back on our activities, what's bringing results, what's not bringing results, how is it being received? So we're going to review that. Any questions about creating a lead generation playbook and those weekly activities? Okay, when we break it down by daily activities, does it seem a lot more manageable? Crickets. All right. Moving on. All right. So lead generation is really just about connecting with and understanding humans, right? It's the art of making friends. Okay, for some of you, you may be thinking, Amy, I'm an introvert and this lead generation thing feels scary and overwhelming. I'm right there with you. I am happy to sit in my home all day long and never leave the house and never go interact with people. Okay, but sometimes in order to do business, you kind of got to fake it just a little bit. So just make sure that you schedule yourself some downtime, because for introverts, when we interact with people, like I host an open house for 3 hours, I'm done for the rest of the day. Okay, so I need downtime after that. So I just know to schedule that in place. Okay, so no matter whether you're an introvert, extrovert, you can lead generate and you can make new connections and make new friends. And it's a little less intimidating if we think about it as we're making new friends. Right? For the lead generation methods that you choose, make sure that you focus on strategies that's going to help you create relationships with those potential buyers or sellers, right? My action plan for my FSBOs, right? What did I say? Hey, I'm being of value. I'm trying to be a resource, right? I'm trying to be that for sale by owner's friend. I want them to know that I'm here to get their back. And that's the same thing with anybody. So I'm meeting leads through open houses. I'm meeting leads. I'm talking with them on the phone. I'm trying to become their friend. Okay. I think Mark, who's actually on the call, introduced me to that term because he does lead gen. He does cold calls to investors. And he said, I'm just trying to make friends. So that's every week when he reports out, he goes, I made 3 friends today, or I made 4 friends. And I just think it's a great way to look at it. Okay. Really take the time to get to know your leads. Find out what areas where you have things in common with them, because people like to do business with people they can relate with. So where can you relate with that other person? Okay. And then keep in mind too, that we don't have to do business with everybody. So somebody passes through your open house and you're like, man, they were kind of a jerk. Guess what? You don't have to put that person in your database. You can just toss that lead away and never follow up with them if there's somebody you don't want to do business with or you don't want to work with. We have the ability to choose who we work with. Don't pick people that are going to abuse you. And it's okay to fire clients as well. I'm just going to say that right now so that you guys all feel and hear that. It's okay to fire people. All right. So, you may even want to take your lead gen activities. Remember, we're going to pick those 3. And we may want to pick lead gen activities that are going to specifically connect us with the people we want to hang out with, right? We're not limited to traditional lead generation methods and models. So maybe you like cars, right? So maybe having booths at car shows or car events is part of your lead generation strategy, or maybe even hosting the car shows or doing car related activities is part of your lead gen, right? Or maybe you like the outdoors, maybe hiking or hunting, fishing, camping. Find ways to connect. Start a hiking or a fishing group, invite past clients, have them bring friends, connect with new people, right? How fun would that be? Or maybe you like DIY projects, or maybe you're a gamer. So find ways to incorporate that into your lead gen model so that you get to hang out with people that you have things in common with. Okay, me personally, I like riding horses. So I specifically like trail riding. There's lots of different ways to ride horses. I like trail riding. So I started several years ago a trail riding group. And that helped me not only get out on the trail more and do what I love, but it connected me with other horse people. I spent hours and hours and miles on the trails building relationships with people. And those people would invite other friends, which led to new connections. And that led to multiple transactions, right? And not only did it lead to me getting to do what I loved more, it led to more business. And it also made it so that now my hobby, or that thing that I enjoy doing, now became a write-off. My gas, my expenses with related to horseback riding all became a write-off. So check with your tax professional on that. Don't take my word for it. But it really became a win-win for me. And it gave me a way to incorporate what I love into a lead gen activity. So don't feel constrained by like the list of lead gen that you see online. Okay.
Think love outside. That. Actually, that's amazing. I really like that.
Yeah. Right. Connect up with people that you like.
Right. I like that.
If you're a mom, maybe have like regular play dates at the park that people, you can invite other moms from your neighborhood to, your friends, they can invite friends to, like maybe you provide juice boxes and snacks for it. Like find a way to utilize what you're already doing and what you enjoy doing into your lead gen activities, and then don't forget to create processes and structure around it so that you have action steps to be consistent and actually focus on lead gen. Let's see, by focusing on activities that you enjoy, you will not only be put in a position to make new friends, but it'll help you to increase your conversion ratio. And it's going to also increase your enjoyment of running your business. Okay, that's going to help reduce burnout, right? It'll also help us create clients for life so that we don't just earn today's business, but we earn future business as well, because these are people that we're going to continue to be in relationship with even after the close of escrow. So think outside the traditional lead generation box and make friends. Any other questions, thoughts, ahas before we move on? All right. Next, we're going to connect with those new leads. So all new leads need to be added into your database immediately. Please do it immediately. For years, okay, I'm ashamed to admit this, I hosted open houses like every weekend for years. And I had all these little half sheets of paper of all these people that had registered for my open house. They'd actually taken the time to like write their name and information down on a piece of paper. And I would stack them on my desk and I never put them into a database and I never followed up with them. And then one day I was sitting with my coach and she goes, how many pieces, we were talking about the fact that I wasn't good at putting people into my database. She goes, how many pieces of paper do you think you have floating around your office with leads on it? And I go, I don't know, hundreds, like probably hundreds. And she goes, so what's your average commission? And she goes, so how much money do you have sitting on your desk that you just left on the table because you failed to put them into your database and you failed to follow up with them? It was hundreds of thousands of dollars of leads on my desk. Okay, don't be like me. Put them into your database immediately, and we're going to add them to a systematic plan to connect with them and win them over. Okay, so here's what often happens, right? We make this really great connection. Let's say we connect with a new lead at an open house, or maybe they called off a sign from our listing, or maybe we made that connection because we hosted a DIY event, right? And they said they were interested in buying a home, and then we call them and it's crickets, right? They don't answer our phone call. We try a couple times, they don't answer, right? That happens all the time. Don't give up. Statistics say that it takes 8 interactions to convert a lead into a client. So don't lose heart. Okay, but we do want to systematize that follow-up plan so that we can make those 8 connections. Most people won't make 8 connections. The majority of people fall off after 3. They never make more than 3 attempts at contacting a lead. So if you've got somebody that you're hosting open houses, they pass through 3 open houses or 4 open houses, and they have 3 or 4 agents calling them, and you're like, oh, call number 2. They probably went with one of those other agents. No, they probably haven't. They probably didn't pick up that phone call either. And all those other agents, those other 3 agents that they walk through those open houses, they quit after 3. So you need to stay the course and continue to make those connections. Okay, we're going to treat all leads as captured. So if you were on yesterday, you're going to remember that zoo animal, right? We've got their information, we've got their name, they're captured. They don't have relationship with us yet. They're not going to answer our phone call, so we need to win them over. So we're going to treat them as captured until they respond to us outside of that initial contact. Okay, we corner somebody at Home Depot. They're like, oh yeah, we're thinking about enlarging our house. So we're looking at what that cost is. And you're like, man, instead of enlarging your house, why don't we sell that one and get you a new home so that you don't have to like go through all the permit process and all that headache. And they're like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. And you're like, perfect, let me get your information. Then you call them, they don't answer, right? So outside of that initial contact, we're going to treat them as captured until they begin responding to us in a different setting. Okay, I'm going to recommend a 12-step plan for the first week. That's that 12 by 1 for all new leads that you see on the screen. We're going to go into that in more detail. If they're still not responding after that first week, then we're going to roll them into an 8 by 8, which is 1 connection per week for 8 weeks. Okay. And then if they still, that way they're not forgotten. And then if they still aren't responding to us, then we're going to move them over to what we call a 19 plus to connect, where we're going to attempt to connect with them a minimum of 19 times per year. Okay. If at any point during our 12 by 1 or 8 by 8 or 19 plus, they begin responding to us, then we're going to move them from captured to connected. So, right, we're going to change that tag in our database, and then we're going to roll them over to the 36 to convert plan that we talked about yesterday. We're going to put more energy and effort into these people because they're now responding to us and they're becoming part of our circle of influence. Okay, so let's dive deeper into each of these. So the 12 to connect, 12 by 1 for week 1, okay, or for 1 week. We're going to exercise all of these. It's going to consist of 4 phone calls, 5 text messages, and 3 emails. Bonus touches, right? Because every time I talk about something, it's always the minimum. It's like a 12 plus by 1, right? We could find them on social media and interact with them a couple times on social media. And additional bonus, if we have their address, we should send them a card. Or if we can find them, like in title records or whatever, send them something in the mail. So for the first week, we're going to attempt to connect with them at least 12 times. So keep in mind that a week, 7 days. We already talked about the fact that I want you taking 2 days off per week. So adjust for your days off. And hopefully some of these items you can automate, like schedule the emails ahead of time and maybe even schedule text messages if your CRM will allow you to do so. Or I've heard like Android phones allow you to schedule text messages. Who knew? Maybe that's a reason to switch. But anyways, so some of these things we can set up and automate. If your CRM or your database allows you to set up connection plans, then we can just, when we put them in there, we add them to the 12x1. Like I've got a database where I could put them on something like this. It would automate each step or give me a reminder on the morning of if it was like a phone call. It can send text messages. It'll send those emails out. I can have template emails already set up, ready to go. It can remind me to find them on social media. It will remind me to comment on their social media, right? So it'll do all these things for me. And then the morning of those phone calls, I get a reminder that I'm supposed to call that person on that day, right? So might be a reason to upgrade your CRM if you're serious about following through with some of these plans, but you can do it with a free CRM and one that doesn't have all the bells and whistles. I promise. You just have to be more diligent in setting those reminders. So for the first week, those 5 text messages, we're going to send them 1 text message per day for the first week, for the first 5 days. Okay. The first text message that we send is going to be something like a thank you, or it was great text on the day that you met them, right? Thank you for passing through my open house. It was great connecting with you at the home show, right? So we want a thank you, or it was great text that goes out. Bonus is it'd be even better if it was a video message, especially if you met them at an event like an open house or a home show or something where they were interacting with lots of people. Reminding them who you are and what you look like is key. If it was an open house, I would probably do it in front of one of the key features of that house. So not only do they remember me, but they remember the house through which we passed through, so that they can remember the conversations that we had. Okay, so that first text message could be a video message. Okay. So we're going to do 5 text messages, 1 per day. Remember, we want to call to action on it. Okay, so we want to ask them a question to try to get them to respond. We're going to call them once per day that first week, starting with day number 2. So we met them yesterday. Today we're going to call, and we're going to call them each day for the next 4 days. Today and 3 more. Okay. We're going, and you may want to call them first, and then if you don't get them, then send the text message. Right? Use that as your follow-up instead of sending a voicemail, because so many people don't listen to their voicemails. I'm not saying that you shouldn't leave a voicemail, I'm just saying you might want to follow up with that text message. You're going to send them 3 emails specific to their situation. So were they a buyer or a seller when you met with them? I would recommend probably emails on day like 3, 5, and 7. Okay. And it may be something like if they were a buyer, we may want to send them an email that said, hey, I'm not sure if you were pre-approved or not, but here are my favorite lenders in the area that I highly recommend. Remember, anytime we want to send referrals, we want to do 3 of those. Maybe if they're a seller, or maybe instead of sending them that lender list, we go, hey, I wasn't sure if you were pre-approved or not. Are you financing your purchase? Or are you paying cash, right? Ask for that response. Then if they respond, now it's, oh, perfect, you're financing it. Would you like my list of lenders? Right? We're trying to get that response. And the email can go right along with the phone call or the text message as well. They can all have the same theme. We don't have to think outside the box. Maybe if they're a seller, it's, hey, would you like my 10-step process for preparing your home for sale? You know, you can open up that ChatGPT and say, hey, create a 10-step process for preparing your home for sale. And ChatGPT will spit out 10 steps to getting your home for sale. Now you've got something that didn't take you very long to create that you can send them when they say yes. Okay. Would you like me to complete a market analysis of your property so that you have an idea of what the pricing would look like, or what the sales price or the value of your property would look like today? Have you considered the importance of pre-listing inspections? Right? Ask them questions to try to get responses. Okay, as a bonus, as we mentioned, see if you can find them on social media and work to connect with them there at least 2 times. So maybe you comment on one of their posts, maybe you send them a direct message. You may want to do that like on day 3, add them as a friend or follow them on social media, whatever social media platform you utilize. Maybe day 4, you comment on a post, and maybe day 5, you send them a direct message. Okay. And then as previously mentioned, if for an additional bonus, if you have or can find their address, send them a handwritten card. I would recommend getting that in the mail on day 2 or 3. Okay. And if at any point you connect with them, right, they respond, you have a conversation, you're going to stop this plan immediately and you're going to move them over to a 36 plus interaction plan. So that's one of the ones that we talked about yesterday, with additional interactions for their specific situation, right? So if they're ready to buy or sell, we talked about if they were like a hot lead, we would connect with them once a week. If they were a nurture lead where they're going to buy or sell 90 days to a year, then we're going to connect with them bi-weekly. And if they're thinking, gosh, we're probably like 15 months out, then we're going to connect with them monthly in addition to those 36 other interactions. Okay. If they still haven't responded by the end of week 1, we're not going to lose hope. We're not going to delete them from our database. We're going to move them to an 8x8 campaign where we're going to reach out to them once per week for the next 8 weeks. Any questions about the 12x1 for your first week? Okay. So they didn't respond to the 12x1 at the end of the week. We roll them over to that 8x8 campaign for the next 8 weeks. On the 8x8, the goal is that we're going to attempt to connect with them once per week for the next 8 weeks. It's going to be a mix of phone calls, text message, and emails, and you can add in the bonus items if you found them on social media or if you have their address. So it should be at least 3 phone calls, at least 3 text messages, and 2 emails. Okay, and remember, it's going to be an 8 plus by 8. So 8 is the minimum number of interactions. We can always interact with them more. Okay, the goal is going to be to get them to start responding, same goal as with the 12x1. So we want to make sure that all interactions have that call to action. You want to ask for a response so that you can get a response. Okay, we want to ask questions so that they respond. We want to withhold value so that they respond to get that piece of valuable information. There's no rule as to what to say for the interactions, but I would highly recommend making them specific to the situation. So if you've had a conversation with them previously, they were talking about wanting to enlarge their home because they're pregnant with their next baby, you know, we may want to bring that up in either the phone call or the text message. If they're a buyer lead, make the interaction specific to buyers. And if they were a seller lead, make them specific to sellers. So we may want to educate them on the listing process. We may want to offer assistance there, maybe have a professional stager come by or a home organizer, right? So we may want to offer them some of those valuable resources. If they're a buyer, we may want to help educate them on the home buying process. Maybe even, you know, people like quizzes. So maybe even create like a home buyer quiz. And every day they get an email dripped on them, or once a week they get an email dripped on them with another question for the home buyer quiz, with the hopes that they see it and they get sucked in and they answer the question, right? Something super simple and fun to get them to respond. After 8 weeks of attempting to connect with them at least 1 time per week, if they are still not responsive, we still aren't going to delete them from our database. We're going to roll them over to a 19 plus to connect annual plan. That's where they're going to stay until they begin responding to us. So we're never going to delete these leads from our database. We're always going to keep trying to get them to interact with us. So once we roll them over to the 19 to connect, we leave them there until they begin responding. They may remain there forever, although not ideal, right? But better here than deleted. As long as they remain in our database, they remain an option for either a transaction or a potential referral. Either we refer them to another agent because they're out of our area or moving out of our area, or a referral and they're like, oh my gosh, you've been so good at following up. We're still not in a position to purchase, but I've got a friend who's looking to buy a house and I would love to connect them with you. Is that okay? Right? So they might do something like that. My grandma has had somebody door knock her neighborhood. It's a farm, and somebody has door knocked her house for probably 20 years at this point. Okay. If my grandma goes to sell her house, you better believe that I'm going to tell her to call that agent. They've earned the right, even though they don't really interact that often, they've earned the right to sell her house. Okay. So earn that right. Let's see, the 19 to connect plan, it's really close to our 36 plus plan that we talked about yesterday, but it's less interaction. So as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to spend the most time with those who are responding to us, our VIP people, our circle of influence people, those people that we have relationship with, and less time with those that we're trying to get to respond. Okay, we're not going to put as much effort into these people. So our 19 to connect plan consists of a minimum of 19 attempts at connection per year. You're going to do that quarterly phone call in line with all of your other contacts in your database. And I still highly recommend that 3-step approach with the quarterly phone call. So on the week that we're supposed to call this person, we're going to call them 3 times if they don't answer. First time, we're going to leave them a message. Hey, it's Amy. I was just trying to connect with you. I'll try you later this week. Second time we try to call them, they don't answer. We're going to shoot them over a text message. Hey, it's Amy. I was just trying to connect. I'll try you later this week. Third time on Friday or Thursday or whenever that third time is that you call them, they still don't answer. We're going to leave a voicemail message that says, hey, it's Amy. I was just hoping to connect with you. I'm sorry I missed you this week. If you need any help with anything real estate related or anything else, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm also going to send a text message with that same information on it. So they get a voicemail and a text message from me, letting them know that I'm no longer going to call them, and or at least that week. And that if they need anything, they can feel free to reach out. Okay. Super simple 3-step approach. If they don't answer on those 3 phone calls, I've sent the messages. They're now off my list for another quarter. I will try them again next quarter. Okay. You're going to send a monthly email, something like a monthly newsletter with valuable information in it. So 4 phone calls, 1 per quarter, 12 emails, probably that monthly newsletter. If you're already sending that monthly newsletter out to on your 36 touch plan, then it makes it really easy just to incorporate it into this one as well. You have, remember our 36 plan had like 2 events on it. This one, we're just going to invite them to 1 event. Okay. We're just trying to get them to respond. And you're going to mail them something or drop something off on their doorstep, ideally twice per year. Usually this is going to be in alignment with the holiday cards from your 36 touch plan. So we're just going to send the same holiday cards to the entire database, to both captured and connected. Makes it really easy, right? We're not trying to create extra work for ourselves with this 19 to connect. We want to connect with them, but we tried them every day for a week. We tried them once a week for 8 weeks or for 2 months. Now we're just like, hey, we're still here. When you're ready, we're ready for you. So we want to keep reminding them that we're in real estate, but we don't want it to take us a lot of energy and effort because they've proven that they haven't responded to us yet. Okay. As soon as they begin responding to any of these interactions, we want to move them over to that 36 plus plan because now they're no longer captured. They've become connected the second they start responding to us. Okay. Any questions so far on this? Thumbs up, thumbs down. I know Jennifer's like, oh my gosh, Amy, you just added a whole bunch of other, I already told you that it seemed like a lot of work and now you've added so much more. Jennifer says there's a neat app called Thanks. You can pick out different gifts to send via text or email. Prices range from $4 or up. Perfect, right? And those you can send text. So if you don't have their address or email, you can do it through text. So super cool. So an app called Thanks. Okay. If you're thinking, oh my gosh, Amy, this is going to be a lot of work. I'm not going to deny that it is, right? But that's what separates the millionaire real estate agents from $60,000 agents, right? The $1 million agents, they don't have more skills. They're just willing to put in more work, right? And they're willing to do what other agents aren't. So be like the millionaire real estate agent. Also, they understand the power of leverage, right? So if you're thinking that you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed and you're like, gosh, it'd be nice to have some help. Our sponsor, Cyberbacker, is here for you. You can hire a part-time remote administrative assistant to help you set up and run your interaction plans. A remote admin can let you know who you need to call each week. They can be on the phone with you when you make those calls. They can take notes and add those to your CRM. They can create newsletters, email those out. They can find contacts on social media and interact with them as you. They can help create buyer and seller email campaigns. And if you're set up right, they can even send text messages for you. So they can take about 80% of this off your plate so that you can focus on generating more leads and setting more appointments, which means more deals for you. Best thing is, it's affordable at about $10 an hour for a part-time or a full-time admin assistant. So if you want to talk more about how Cyberbacker can help you in your business, there'll be a QR code on the next screen that you can scan to schedule an appointment to find out more. But that does bring us to the end of today's lesson. And I really appreciate everyone joining us today. I hope you got some valuable information and some ahas of how to lead generate, how many forms of lead generation you should have, and how to follow up with those people. Tomorrow's our first day of diving into some specific lead generation methods. So we're going to start diving in with leveraging lead listings for leads. That's going to wrap up this week. Remember, Friday, we're bumping to next Tuesday. Again, sorry for the schedule change, but I'll be back on Tuesday, 9 a.m. We'll talk about farming to grow bigger crops. And as always, all these recordings are recorded, or all these trainings are recorded. There we go. I said it wrong the first time. So you can watch any of these once we get them reposted. They'll get posted on my YouTube channel. The link for the YouTube channel, let's see if I've got it. Oh, there you go. It's in the chat box. So you can like and subscribe, as well as if you're registered for this event, you will get notified as soon as we get any of the trainings posted. Next week, my handy dandy assistant, Abby, is off. She's going to spend Christmas and New Year's with her family. So the recordings for next week, I'm going to be in charge of them. They're not going to get posted until the week after New Year's. I'm sorry, there's going to be a delay there because that's above and beyond what I am capable of doing. So next week, we'll have the trainings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They'll be recorded, but they won't get posted until the next week. Any ahas, questions, or thoughts that you want to share with me before we wrap up for today?
Mimi, can you stand for 3 minutes?
I can.
Thank you.
I liked your getting your groups together of people doing things that you like to do. That's what I'm going to start doing.
Perfect.
That way you don't feel like you said you don't get burned out. You don't feel like your business is too much of a chore.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We should be having fun.
Yes. Love it.
Good. There's also a link for the chat box if you want to be further notified when the recording for today's training is posted. You can click on that, log your information, and we'll make sure you're notified as soon as that recording is up. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I really appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow for leveraging your listings for leads.
Thank you. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.